Hey everybody, I'm glad to see you this morning and thank you for joining me once again on this beautiful summer day. I'm so excited. As you might be able to tell, I need to mow my grass. Probably not today. I've got a super busy day, but probably tomorrow. I think maybe tomorrow night I'll be able to get my grass mowed. But it's super lush out here, and the hummingbirds are visiting me right up there and chasing each other around, which is pretty fabulous. We have a couple sets of hummingbirds that hang out around here, and we have orioles and all sorts of wonderful wildlife. And it's a great setting for me to stay stable. So today's topic, well, if you don't know who I am, I'm Rita Hickman, body-mind expert, burnout specialist, and I specifically work with women out of an office in McHenry, Illinois, not far from Chicago. And I live out in the woods, and then my practice is in town, and I have a worldwide reach, and it's super exciting for me to be able to share all of this wisdom and knowledge that has come hard-won and through lots of life experiences. So, okay, today we are talking about traditional Chinese medicine and stress eating. So for a lot of people, when they think about eating, they think, when they think about stress eating, they only associate it or relate it to eating. They only, some of the quick solutions that doctors will give you is if you're stress eating, well, why don't you eat something like carrots or celery? Which I hate celery with a passion. And carrots just don't have the same zip as, like sour cream and onion potato chips and things like that. Hey, Heidi, good to see you. Or for a client of mine, she loves chocolate-covered almonds. So stress eating, from an Asian medicine perspective, is less about eating, hey, Catherine, and more about being in a trying to find balance when you're feeling out of balance. Asian medicine, their big focus isn't that you're broken or that there's something wrong with you or that you're sick. It's that you are in a particular type of balance. And if you're doing something you don't like, let's say stress eating, it's trying to keep you in balance with something else, usually with the level of stress that you're experiencing, either externally, in your world, through relationships or situations, environmentally, from toxins and things, or internally, mentally, physically, or emotionally, internally in your world. Usually, if you're stress eating, it's a combination of all three. You're trying to make yourself feel better to combat or deal with the discomfort that you feel either coming at you or erupting kind of inside of you. And eating is an amazing way in order to change your mind. But if you're like me, you don't want to sit there and crunch on carrots or celery sticks or something else that's extraordinarily healthy, I'm sure. Hey, Ruth, except carrots are really high in sugar. You don't necessarily want to do food substitutes. And Julia's here too. You want to do the foods that you want to do. And you just don't want to be eating as many chocolate-covered almonds. You don't want to be eating as many potato chips. But we get this mindset that it's either or. This is the suggestion that traditional Chinese medicine will have, which is stress can be alleviated in a lot of different ways, not just by eating. Good morning, Julia. Not just by eating. It can be alleviated by nature, by stimulation, by being engaged with somebody else, by getting enough sunshine or the minerals or nutrients that you need. Typically, if you're stress eating, it's because you feel so uncomfortable in some area, usually in your body, your skin's crawling, or you're trying not to think about something you're obsessing about. And the food and the taste and the sensations are what distract you and give you kind of the ability to keep moving forward. So let's look at that. If the food is a great distraction, hey, Ruth says good morning too, nice. If our food is a great distraction, and it's awesome, because like when dairy hits the digestive system, this is why we eat Ben & Jerry's ice cream when we're stressed out, because as soon as the dairy hits the digestive system, we immediately start to feel better. Our body releases beta endorphins and we get a little bit of a high. Same thing with chocolate, same thing with things which are crunchy, because things which are crunchy give us a level of stimulation. So if we're looking for distraction, and we are, because a lot of times when we're in stressful situations, sure, it would be great to be some sort of Zen monk that lives in a cave that's able to handle anything that happens and nothing bothers them, but that's not reality. That's not the life that we're living. We're living in a world where we are bombarded by constant stimulation, and it's just really ramped up. And we haven't adapted to that level of stress and stimulation yet. And so distraction, as long as it's not used, to completely ignore and never address a situation, distraction is one of the best tools that you have to kind of stay sane. Hey, Beth, and to stay in a place where you can still function and be the person that you want to be. But you need different distractions besides only eating, besides only chocolate or only dairy. Because if we're looking at balance, it doesn't mean that we get rid of something completely. It doesn't mean that we get rid of the things that we love. It's that we have other tools, other things which help us manage the discomfort that we're under. So let me tell you a little bit about how that works. So let's say you're trying to ignore something. You've got something swirling in your head. You're angry, hurt, upset, uncomfortable about something. And it's just a natural habit to reach for whatever you've got nearby, gummy bears or something crunchy or something dairy or chocolate. Hey, Amy, something to distract us this way. If distraction is okay, it means you get to put in, oh, cool, Bee's watching in Florida. Hi, Bee. So distraction's a good thing, but let's look at distracting ourselves with other things. If we're obsessing about something, then we can distract ourselves visually. So a good example is if you work in a cubicle, you will be less productive and more bored and more likely to do stress eating than if you have a desk that looks out at a window. Because when you've got something that's engaging that part of your brain, it means that you're not going to get bored. It means that you're engaged and involved in what's going on. If every so often you're looking up and watching the squirrel run by, then you're staying engaged. You're not going to need to distract yourself as much with the chocolate-covered almonds, which are sitting right next to you, that you're munching on while you're working. Okay? So that's an example. So how do you do this if you do work in a cubicle? You want to have something that's a positive emotional distraction for you. So I would suggest maybe one of those picture frames where you put on a couple hundred different photos that are meaningful to you. Now here's a place finally to put all those photos that you take. Something that touches you emotionally. And so when you get that moment, when you would normally be reaching for the chocolate-covered almonds, your attention gets distracted over here, at the photo, at the memory, at the idea. It gives you that little bit of stimulation, engagement, and a break, and then you can come back and be focused. You know what it's like when you're working with a little kid. When you're working with a little kid, and they're starting to have a temper tantrum, and you're noticing it's starting to happen, you distract them. You give them something else to focus on, and they completely lose attention. They're no longer concerned about this thing over here that they're not getting. They're absorbed and involved in something that gives them a bigger payout. Okay? And memories and emotions and love and caring give a much bigger payout than sour cream and onion potato chips. So visually, that's something you can do. What else can you do? This is where stuff like aromatherapy comes in. The diffuser necklaces or a diffuser in your office or a couple different scents. I used to have a few different diffusers, and I change them out because we become nose deaf after a while and you don't want to. One of my diffusers had a motion sensor, so it only kicked in when something moved. So it was always a fresh smell for me. Do you remember when those, Airglade or whatever things came out and they had 2 scents and they'd go back and forth so you wouldn't become nose deaf to them? This is the same sort of thing. If you trade up your essential oils, if you have something that's only movement activated, it stimulates your senses. It gives you just enough engagement so that you aren't distracting yourself once again with the Ben and Jerry's, which is calling your name in the freezer. Okay, you're able to distract yourself with a different amazing scents. I've been combining things like grapefruit and vanilla lately. Do you know how amazing that smells? I've been combining like cocoa and cinnamon. This stuff is awesome. When you've got a smell, that's engaging you, that's wonderful. It's a great distraction. That's totally calorie free. Okay? Another good distraction is a physical distraction, something that gives you a different felt sense. And this is where water comes in. When I had the tendency to stress eat, one of the things I would do is I would keep cold or hot water around, because when I would drink that, it would give me a different felt sensation, right? Suddenly I'm distracted by cold. So sometimes when I'm upset, one of the best things I can do is just hold a warm cup of tea or get a cold bottle of water, because that sensory distraction keeps you engaged again, okay? So that you're not reaching for the wonderful thing that you want to be reaching for, that's crunchy and salty and sweet and caramelly and whatever it may be. It gives you a different felt sense. So here's the deal. When you're engaged in multiple sensations, all right, then your craving for something goes down. If all you've got is the chocolate covered almonds, then your craving is going to be through the roof, because that's all you got. But when you start to put into your life permanently things like sights and smells and sounds, I've got Pandora on my phone, and so I never know what Pandora is going to play, and that surprise of what they're going to play next, especially if it's familiar, Fleetwood Mac or for me, Fleetwood Mac or Paul Simon or something wonderful like that. It's familiar enough. Coloring books, Amy says, awesome. It's familiar enough to me that I can go, oh, I love that song, without getting too highly engaged in the words. Whereas if it's something that's elevator music, you totally tune that out. Now, coloring books, as Amy says, are a great suggestion too, because you're engaged in creating something. When you're engaged in something that has color and texture and activity and movement, and isn't just you in your head going round and round trying to pretend like you don't feel what you're feeling. You love Fleetwood Mac. I know I do too. Paul Simon, the Paul Simon station on Pandora is fantastic. It's a great distraction. So when you're engaged in a creative activity, when you're engaged in something that fulfills your senses, and they call that flow actually. When you're in a sense of flow, time disappears. You're not reaching for something to distract you from how you feel or to help keep you focused on your task, because you're already surrounded with this multi-sensory environment, of smell. And you can do taste. This is where gum and mints and things come in great. Or grapes. The thing I love about grapes are the texture of them. They're smooth. So you can put something in your mouth, like a grape, and hold it there. And it gives you this mouth sensation that lets you stay focused on what you're doing. Or I'll wear fun earrings that I'll touch, because it gives me a different texture. You've seen people, they'll play with something. This is the same sort of thing. Or their hair. I'll use my hair. Here's the deal. When you do this consciously, when you create an environment for yourself consciously that has different felt senses like cold or warm, that you can ingest, different textures that you can touch, smooth, things in your mouth that give you, that oral sensation. When you've got music that's familiar and brings you memories, but isn't going to, totally engage you with it. Hey, Heather. when you've got colors and memories and pictures and stuff that's moving around you, you can stay engaged and focused without needing to have a constant, feeding yourself of something to distract yourself with. For me, I would love gummy bears, because all the different colors and flavors, or Jelly Bellies, if it's a mix of them, oh my God, here's the total surprise. Now, those are fun, and I keep those around too, because it's that just another piece of the puzzle. So when you get, good morning, Heather, when you get enough things into your life purposefully that you have chosen to surround yourself with, that's sensory rich, then you're going to find that you don't need to stress eat, because your distraction, your activity, your occupation is going to be taken up with something else, something that that relaxes you, puts your focus, in a different direction. And in reality, the more positive, beautiful, wonderful stimulation that we have, the better we are able to focus. People get this mixed up all the time. They think that in order to focus, you need to get rid of all distractions, get rid of everything that's around you, and just narrow down and dive in. And that's not really how we work. We are so amazing. We are so creative. We are so integrated that we actually have to have a lot of things to keep our attention. And when we've got all of these things going on, when you're doing a lot of things and you feel in flow, you're like, wow, how am I juggling all of these balls? It's because you're in that flow. You've got that engagement. So the next time you find yourself stress eating, I want you to take just a pause and do something like take a handful of what you want to eat and put the rest away so that it's there. And then I want you to add some music. I want you to add some smells. I want you to add some visual distraction. I want you to get up, walk around, put your feet on the ground, outside in the grass. I want you to do something which has a calorie-free, inflammation-free, pain-free distraction for what you're going on in life. Because on one level, we absolutely need distraction. And stress eating isn't just because you're under stress. Stress eating is also because you need more engagement and you need more beautiful sensory stimulation in your life, not just your phone or your computer or what you're watching. You need a wide variety of things. And when you do that, you'll notice your stress eating goes down, you feel a lot better, your calorie intake goes down, your mental health goes up, and you'll find that some of your health issues start going away because they're not being encouraged by the stress eating that you're doing and the foods that you're putting into your body. Okay, cool. So like, love, share, comment on other people's comments. We're going to do a whole week on traditional Chinese medicine and big problems, big health problems that people are dealing with. So if you leave a comment, message me privately, something like that, then I'll do a topic around that, a live stream on that, and give some really great tools and tips for how to manage the life that you're living. You are more than welcome, Amy. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm going to see you tomorrow. I have a busy day myself, and ciao.